Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor. I am a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I run my own channel, Counterpoints 40K, which is about the universe of Warhammer. I run my own channel, Counterpoints, which is about politics. We'll be posting pre-recorded videos there. And I'm also live on the Valor Media Network for the next 6 months, hopefully for the next 6 months, where we will be trying to create live stream and pre-recorded content that hopefully helps that channel grow and blow up and do well, because it has a great mission, which I think is fighting the extremists in our society and trying to create a place for young men to not be totally insane. And yeah, so as a result of that, what we're going to do in order to create a good place for young men to go that isn't totally insane is we are going to oftentimes watch and react to extremists. So in my opinion, we watched Mr. Nick the Knife Fuentes earlier today and broke down why he is, in my opinion, criminally insane for his support of Andrew Tate. Yesterday, we watched like Sneeko, we watched Candace Owens, we broke all that stuff down. Well, here's a left-wing figure. This is VAUSH. VAUSH or VAUSH is a narco-socialist. He has 531,000 subs. He routinely breaks several 100,000 views on his channel, and he is very anti-central government. He's very anti the United States. He's not so far as to be, I don't know, like a terrorist supporter. Like, he's not as bad as Hassan Piker, but he's still very pro-leftist revolution in the United States. And he does have insane takes a healthy amount of the time. And so this was from a few months ago, but I still think it's perfectly relevant for why I'm very critical of this character. This was in reference to the Daniel Penny court case. And for those of you who forget, Daniel Penny was the gentleman who was on the subway where there was a homeless person accosting all the people on the subway. And then he got into a fight with him and strangled him, and that person ended up dying. So the reason why I want to watch this is because I want to show you all of the times that VAUSH, says the most hyperbolic thing possible. Then he reads something that contradicts what he just said. He acknowledges that he read the thing that was less hyperbolic, and then he moves back to the hyperbolic language. It's something that I think once you see it as a pattern, you can't unsee it. And so as a result, if there are people who, one, it's just interesting content. And then two, if you are a VAUSH fan, I think once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Okay? So with all of that being said, let's get into the content. I'm going to mute myself just because I am eating my lunch. I'm trying to be considerate of you fine folk at home. I will pause and unmute myself when I have something to say.
Put your noggin to work on this one. Guys, important moral question. Difficult stuff, okay? So you're really going to have to put your noggin to work on this one. Is it good to kill people for no reason? I know. People have struggled with this one philosophically for a long time. Yes, it is good. All right, well, then you guys are hoping then for the acquittal of Daniel Penny. It's the guy who killed that guy, choked him out for 15 minutes in the New York subway. It was, what was he, a Michael Jackson impersonator? Forgive my poor memory. This is a mentally ill homeless man who did MJ impersonations. I changed my answer. Too late! You're on this guy's side now. It was some mentally ill homeless guy did MJ impersonations. Apparently he got real like shouty on a train, and then Daniel Penny choked him to death. Spent 15 minutes holding him in a chokehold. Like, it wasn't like he punched him and he went down and hit his head or something like that, like heat of passion or whatever. It was 15 minutes of like holding him to like kill him, you know? It was 6. Was it 6? I thought it was 15 minutes. I mean, 6 minutes is still a long time to hold someone by the neck to choke him. Like, I mean, think about it. You're choking, like your whole, like you got to breathe. 15 is Floyd. No, Floyd was 9. Is he a cop or just some rando? He was like a cop or a veteran or something. 6 minutes, yeah. Okay, I remembered 15. But yeah, I say it doesn't take away from my appointment at all. Anyway, to my memory, I'll look up the case. This guy, who I think we can agree looks like a sociopath anyway. So, the jury is hung. And no, that doesn't mean what you think it means. It means they can't come to a conclusion. Jury needs to come to a unanimous conclusion in a criminal case such as this. And they have been deadlocked for some time. Is the jury hung in the other sense? I couldn't say. I don't know if their identities have been made public, and even if they have been, I don't know if that information is known about them. It's possible, but I don't know. He really does have like a lingering sociopath stare, doesn't he? I mean, obviously I'm biased against him because I think he's a murderer. Yeah, he was a Marine, so that solves the sociopath question, I suppose. Jordan Neely, there we go. Jordan Neely, 30-year-old homeless man. Can probably guess what the race of this guy is based on the fact that conservatives support his killing. Died after a 24-year-old Marine veteran named Daniel Petty put him in a chokehold. Neely boarded a New York City subway train at the 2nd Avenue station just before it departed and reportedly began screaming he was hungry and needed a job, saying he was not afraid of going to prison and was ready to die, and threatening people. Freelance journalist Juan Alberto Vasquez, who witnessed the incident, said Neely removed his jacket and threw it violently to the floor, resulting in other passengers moving away from him. So yeah, he's having like a mental breakdown. That's pretty rough stuff. Not just for him, but for the other people on the train car. I'm not gonna do one of these like delusional online lefty things where I'm like, this wasn't threatening at all. Of course it is. If some guy starts screaming on a subway train that he's ready to die and then he throws the jacket on the ground, like I think I would either want to move away from him or I would be ready to like fight him, I guess. Vasquez said he did not see Neely assault anyone. Other witnesses reported fearing death from Neely's actions, including him throwing trash at other passengers and approaching people. Penny then approached Neely from behind and put him in a chokehold. Penny then maintained the hold after the train reached its next stop, while other passengers held the door open to prevent it from moving. During the chokehold, some bystanders gave warnings on Neeling's health, with one telling Penny, "You're going to kill him now," while others helped in holding him down until the police arrived. Vasquez captured the final 3 minutes of the hold on video, which shows Penny applying it for nearly a minute after Neely had stopped struggling and gone limp. Again, absolute psycho shit. The idea...
I'm sorry. I'm still chewing. But we're going to do, I don't know, research. Vasquez, Jordan Neely. Vasquez, Jordan Neely footage. Then also, is this an animation? I love animations. I'm gonna mute it and click through. Because if there's actually things going on, then I'm gonna want to watch this and react to it and break down. The quality's meh. It could still be good though. We'll see. I'll watch that on my own time. Let me save this. I'm trying to like chew my food without making any sound. It's very hard. It's very hard to chew without any noise sound. So here's the actual footage. Let's go ahead and watch the actual footage. I'll mute myself again so I can chew.
This video was recorded in the Broadway Lafayette subway station in Manhattan last May 1st at 2:24 p.m. The woman filming, Yvette Rosario, has just witnessed a struggle in her subway car. The man in the white t-shirt being held on the floor is Jordan Neely. He is 30 years old, homeless, and diagnosed with schizophrenia. He boarded the train at the previous stop. Witnesses say Neely entered the car and immediately began threatening passengers, saying he was, quote, ready to die and would kill a motherfucker. Daniel Penny, a 24-year-old student and former Marine from Long Island, took Neely to the ground and put him in a chokehold. He's the blonde guy there, restraining Neely. These 6 minutes will change everything for both men. Neely will be rushed to the hospital and declared dead. Penny will go to a police precinct where his statement will kick off a legal case that's ongoing right now in Manhattan. It's one that could land him in prison for 15 years. This case divided America almost immediately. On one side, those who say Penny is a racially motivated murderer, a vigilante who thought he could put his hands on a poor Black man because he was poor and Black. On the other, those who believe Penny is a hero who protected his fellow riders in the face of soaring violent crime and inaction from government and police. Over the past month, I've spent day after day in a Manhattan courtroom covering the trial of Daniel Penny. I've read hundreds of pages of Jordan Neely's medical records and seen images of his autopsy. I've seen Penny's mother hold back tears on the stand as she vouched for her son's kindness. I've heard from witnesses, police, and the medical examiner. But as the trial comes to a close, basic questions still remain about exactly what happened on that subway train. It all comes back to these 6 minutes when Penny and Neely struggled on the floor of a subway car. Prosecutors say Neely's last voluntary movement was at this moment, 2:28 p.m. 51 seconds later, Penny let go of him. The medical examiner says Neely died a short time later from a chokehold, compression of his neck. What you're about to see is body cam footage from police arriving at the scene.
New York City 911, you need police, fire, or medical? New York City 911, you need police, fire, medical. New York City 911, you need police, fire, medical. Hi, we need an ambulance and cops. We just need a cop at Broadway, that's here street. Someone's attacking here. Okay. Straight. This is inside the train station? Yes. Okay, Broadway, Lafayette, uptown, downtown platform. Uptown. Okay, and this is the F, right? Yeah. Male or female being attacked? I don't know. He's trying to attack everybody. Oh, a guy's trying to do it. Okay, give me further description. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Indian? He's Black. What color is he? They're holding them down. They're holding him down right now. How many people? There's just two. There's one man holding white man holding it down, holding the homeless guy down. Okay. Any weapons? Anybody injured at this time? No, nobody. Okay, they're coming as we speak.
We don't know. This is next one. You came like this, right? You got anything on them? What's that? You got anything on them? I don't know. I just yo, my man. I just put them out. Yo. You say you just put them out? Right. Oh. You get a bus.
In this moment, before Neely's body was taken from the train, before Penny went to the police station, the story had effectively been written. Archetypes had already been cast. In the following days, a New York Times opinion headline read, quote, "Making people uncomfortable can now get you killed." On MSNBC, Joy Reid said, "The one person who was in danger obviously was Jordan Neely." Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez claimed, long before Penny was even arrested, that Neely had been, quote, "murdered." Representative Jamal Bowman went even further, calling Neely's death an execution. But then there is the body camera footage, the relief that witnesses, fellow passengers, told police they felt when Penny took charge.
You want to know what happened?
Yeah, I can tell you what happened.
Yeah, what happened?
He was there, right? I was in before him. Then he came in late. He put
Hold up.
They felt when Penny took charge. Representative Jamal Bowman went even further, calling Neely's death an execution. But then there is the body camera footage, the relief that witnesses, fellow passengers, told police they felt when Penny took charge.
You want to know what happened?
yeah, I can tell you what happened.
Yeah, what happened?
He was there, right? I was in before him. Then he came in late. He put like his hand so he could come in, right?
Okay.
I guess he was pissed or something, but I looked at him, right? And then he started taking off his sweater, dummy hard, and then he threw it. And then he told like everyone that he had like a rug day and that he don't care what happens today. He don't care about going to jail, but that someone's dying today.
Bro, move it. You can come to me. Is that a fight at all?
No, he came on the train. I was sitting right there. I was sitting next to everybody that was moving. That was the last one I was sitting. He came on the train. He was like, yo, I'm looking for food. I'm looking for this shit. But like, he was ready to risk it all. Basically, he was like basically, he's going to tell the people about to hurt somebody. He's like, I'm ready to hurt somebody. I'm ready to do this. And he was right here. Like I said, I don't think he's nothing wrong. Everybody moved, and he was about to start hitting people. He came in and he tried to do this while the cop was coming. They took mad. Everybody, I was falling out home.
Yeah.
They took mad on the cop. He was trying to resist him on somebody's game. They took mad on.
Okay.
This guy, he was on the train. He was ready to like. I see him take like he got on the train. He dropped his phone. It's like, I'm ready to hurt anybody. I'm hungry. I'm ready to go back to Rikers Island. And dude got up, he saw he was about to hurt somebody, and he got up and he was trained. And he was trying to play it. I don't know. You saw everything on Absolutely. No, you saw everything, okay?
This lady right here.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you see?
What did I see? I was sitting up there, I heard the young man that's on the floor saying, you know, hey, I'm willing to die, you know? I'll do anything. I'm willing to die. I'll go to jail. I don't care. And he was saying it so loud that everyone turned around. So the young man, he got belligerent and he tackled him down.
Oh.
He was tackled in the brown jacket, the one that just went past.
The guy in the brown jacket.
Yeah, you got to see the guy in the brown jacket. Yeah.
You got to for the guy to the brief here. You got a brown jacket, tan jacket. Take him to the brief right now. And take it away.
So he took him to the ground. The guy with the brown jacket took him to the ground.
Yeah, he took him around and taken him to the ground. Not a hard chokehold, just enough to secure him, and the guy fought. And he kept holding him. All right. And then that's when everybody totally realized what was going on. I think these guys on drugs, you know, because when he came in, he was unbelievably off the charts. He scared the living daylights out of him.
How did he bring him down to the ground? Like he picked him up and throw him on the ground?
I think he stood up, grabbed him, turned him around, and put him to the ground.
All right.
Those witnesses could never have known anything about Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely when Neely rushed the train car shouting that he was ready to die. They had not heard the words of his Aunt Carolyn, who later said the system had failed him. No one knew that his mother had been bludgeoned to death when he was a teen, that he had aged out of the foster care system onto the streets. But they also didn't know that he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and was in and out of mental health treatment. And they didn't know that he had been arrested 42 times. At this point, despite all the scientific evidence I've seen in court, the question of life and death becomes almost metaphysical. Testifying, the medical examiner conceded that she didn't wait for full toxicology results before declaring Neely's death a homicide. An expert for the defense said other factors, including schizophrenia, sickle cell condition that can make it harder to breathe, and the drug K2 in his system, all could have played a part. The remarkable thing about this case is how many pieces of evidence cut both ways. For the people who have been following the case, few, if any, are undecided on how they feel about it. And most people I've spoken with at the trial say the evidence presented in court has changed absolutely nothing for them. If, at the start of this trial, you thought of Penny as a racist vigilante, a not guilty verdict won't change your mind. It will just prove that the system is racist too. And if you went into this trial thinking of Penny as a hero, a guilty verdict is yet more proof of progressive politics getting in the way of justice. A jury of Daniel Penny's peers will decide his fate. But so many Americans have already made up their minds.
Yo. That is the evidence that was available at the time of court. This might have been a little bit earlier, but a lot of this was already widely available. Okay. And so what's frustrating to me about this is we already knew some of this stuff before the trial. Let's ignore VAUSH for a second. Let's just go over the details. So he comes onto the train and nobody has disputed this. He says he is ready to die. Okay. That's almost like a direct quote from the news article, let alone anything else. Let me find my StreamYard real quick. Just make sure that you guys can see the right thing. Okay. He says that he's ready to die. Nobody denies that. He took off his jacket and threw it on the ground. Other witnesses reported fearing death from Neely's actions, including him throwing trash at other people and approaching other people. So if you're walking up on someone, I'm going to get you. That already is enough. Okay. Ready to die and would kill a motherfucker is a direct quote from a witness who was there. Okay. Then, while he's getting choked out, his hands are up. He's still breathing. You can see him breathing, and you can see him putting his hands up, and you can see the other people helping him not get, like basically like moving his arms so he can't get his arms out and keep fighting. Right. And these are like, the guys that I saw looked vaguely Hispanic. Okay. The people who were helping with a guy taking him down. He's still talking while they're fighting, and he's still fighting, and he maintained the hold for 6 minutes, allegedly. Okay. He's getting up. Attacking everybody was another. Okay. He's getting up was a quote from one of the people there. Attacking everybody is another quote from somebody that was there. It looks like the chokehold was applied for 50 seconds. I just put him out, right? The one person in danger was Jordan Neely, said AOC. I'm going to move that to the end. Jamal Bowman said it was an execution. That's disgusting and embarrassing. So another passenger, I think it was the black male, but you could just go watch the segment again and see exactly who said what. Said that someone's dying today. Yo, if you walk up to me and you say someone's dying today and you're acting all crazy, you're acting all like you're ready to fight, I'm going to choke you out like immediately. Okay. I'm going to knock you out immediately. I'm not waiting for you to pull a gun. I'm not waiting for you to pull out a screwdriver or a knife. I'm going to punch you in the face or I'm going to choke you out. I'm not going to let you walk around talking mad smack to everybody about how somebody's going to die today and threatening everyone. That's not happening, right? I'd be like, excuse me? And if you say it again, you're getting choked out or knocked out, right? He was ready to risk it all. I'm ready to hurt somebody. That was a quote from a black male passenger who saw the fight. I don't think he did anything wrong, says the black male passenger, okay? I'm not saying that he's like the king of black people, but obviously if there was some racial motivation, some racial bias, if Daniel Penny said, hey, N-word, get off of my train, and then they started fighting, you better believe that that young man would have had something to say about it, right? It wasn't an execution. It wasn't arbitrary, right? The black female repeats the fact that Jordan Neely said, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to go to jail. And then, what was it? I think there was another one who said, like, I don't care if I go back to Rikers. I heard the word Rikers somewhere, right? Daniel Penny voluntarily tackled him, choked him out. He went to the precinct. This was a quote from the black female witness. Not a hard chokehold, just enough to secure him. And we saw that in the video, by the way. I think he was on drugs. He was unbelievably off the charts. He was scaring the daylights out of everybody. That's from the black female witness. Then later, so we need to put this later, arrested 42 times, diagnosed schizophrenic. Medical examiner declared death by homicide before toxicology was back. He had K2, which is synthetic marijuana, back in his system. AOC said he was murdered. Somebody else said that the one person in danger was Jordan Neely. Why? Why would you say that if you didn't know the case? Jamal Bowman said it was an execution. This is wild. This is why progressive have gotten their butts kicked in the past few years. If you want American citizens to take you seriously, you cannot lie about criminal cases as they're coming out. I won't support you. Okay. I am a moderate Republican. I hate MAGA. I hate everything that they're doing. But if there's a situation that is complex and you don't know the facts of the matter and you immediately label it a murder or an execution without knowing anything about the case, I will not vote for you, and I will encourage other people to not vote for you. Progressives need to realize that. Okay? Let's check out how VAUSH characterized the situation. Hey, chat. Is it good or bad to kill people for no reason? Daniel Penny choked out a Michael Jackson impersonator for no reason. He got real shouty, so Daniel Penny choked him out for 15 minutes. Corrected to 6 minutes. Was it 6 minutes? Well, that's still a long time. I'll look up the case. He looks like a sociopath. Listen, the one thing that he has said so far that I'm willing to agree with is that Marines look like psychos. It is what it is. I'm a former Marine. They teach you bearing. They teach you how to stare stoically into the distance while people scream at you. That's the one observation that VAUSH has made so far that's just true. Besides that, before even knowing the facts of the case, without watching the body camera footage, he is already accusing Daniel Penny of being a murderer. Okay? So we'll take a look at, let's take a look at K2 real quick. K2 synthetic marijuana side effects. What are the side effects of K2, also known as spice? Increased heart rate and blood pressure, vomiting and nausea, seizures, agitation and anxiety, hallucinations and paranoia, delirium and confusion. Awesome. That's an awesome thing that a paranoid schizophrenic should be smoking. All right, anyways. I've yapped enough. Let's let VAUSH say stupid things.
All he did was throw trash at people in terms of like actual direct like you're still holding a chokehold on a person's throat. Yeah, you can hold people down without like killing them. Like we have invented ways, pardon my extensive jujitsu experience here speaking for me. We have invented ways to hold a person down without literally just like murdering him. You know? Like multiple people too. If you thought he was freaking out and it was a danger to people, I would even argue you could justify tackling him. If he was throwing trash at people and like yelling and throwing his jacket down or whatever, and you thought he was like kind of getting in people's faces, and you were like, okay, I'm not taking chances, I'm just gonna like football tackle the guy, I think that's defensible.
So this is what's so dumb about what he just said, okay? I think you can justify tackling someone. So he's already admitting that you can physically intervene, but then what? Okay? Let's say that you and I are in a fight, okay? You and I chat, we are in a fight. You say, hey, Connor, I'm ready to go back to Rikers Island. I'm ready to die today. I physically tackle you. I football tackle you and I put you on the ground and then I stand back up. What now? Okay, do I sit on you? Do I sit on your chest? Do I just stand there and stare at you? If you have a knife, if you have a screwdriver, if you have a gun, if you have a box cutter, and I just football tackled you, and then I let you back up, you can do anything that you want to do now. All that I've done is piss you off more. Why would football tackling a schizophrenic and then letting him back up be something that you would do? Like, I'm happy that chat already sees this, okay? You already see how stupid this is, right? Okay, I'm getting some lulls in chat, so I'm going to assume that you see how stupid this is.
Would I personally make that call? Well, I don't know. I'm not there. But maybe. Like, I probably wouldn't because that sounds scary. I don't want to do that. But, like, morally speaking, is it feasible, like justifiable? Sure. Where I take issue is choking him to death.
Okay, so this is the frustration. VAUSH already in this segment admits, I'm going to be a little bit rude here. VAUSH and I have had positive conversations in the past, but since then he jerked off to cartoon children, right? So I'm going to be a little bit mean. VAUSH just admitted that he's the kind of pussy that you would not want to be on a subway car with. Because what's going to happen is something called the bystander effect. All right? The bystander effect is when you're in large groups of people, there's diffusion of responsibility, meaning that most people can psychologically say, yeah, there's something dangerous going on, but I'm not a cop. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not an EMT. And there's 20 other people in this situation. So if somebody needs to step up, then it'll be somebody else. It won't be me. VAUSH just admitted that he would succumb to the bystander effect through what he just said. Okay. Marines are told and taught to not have the bystander effect. We are literally trained that if something happens, it's on you. If something is going wrong, it's on you. As a private first class, as a lance corporal, as a sergeant, if there is something going wrong, it is your duty to intervene. That's why Daniel Penny intervened, is because he was trained for 2 to 4 years in order to adopt that mentality. Also, since he was being held in for 6 minutes, we have the black female witness and we have the videotape showing that Daniel Penny held him in a restraining hold without cutting off his blood flow until the very end of the interaction. Okay? Let's just give VAUSH more room to say very dumb things.
I think there's like a reasonable middle ground between not doing anything and killing him for no reason, basically.
All right, we've already established that there's a reason, so he's just lying. But please articulate the middle ground.
Like, come on. Continuing to hold him in a chokehold after he goes limp, when according to witness reports, he didn't even like assault anyone except for throwing trash. Okay. Allegedly, the chokehold lasted for... When adrenaline starts pumping, time loses meaning. You know this? No, I don't think that, like, you get into an altercation, therefore you chokehold a person and strangle them for 6 minutes, including 1 minute after he goes limp. I don't think that.
Okay. I'm going to have to keep engaging with dumb statements as it's happening. I'm sorry, I'm still chewing my food. I'll try to make as few gross sounds as possible. You're going to have to articulate the middle ground. According to VAUSH's own statements, Daniel Penny achieved the middle ground. He took him to the ground. He held him in a non-blood or air chokehold. And it was only at the last minute that we saw on video camera for 50 seconds, at which point he applied a blood chokehold, knocked him out, and then held it for around 40 to 50 seconds. Okay? I agree to a degree because I was taught in the Marine Corps that a blood choke can knock you out in 7 to 10 seconds. That's where you use your elbow and your wrist in order to cut off the carotid artery in somebody's neck, and then you can knock them out in 7 to 10 seconds. And I was taught that if you hold a blood choke or hold an air choke for 1 minute and 10 seconds, you can effectively stop somebody's heart and then basically kill them, right? So him holding the choke for a full minute is potentially a way to hurt or kill someone. That's 100% true. But I'm going to look up something that I think it's not going to change your mind, but it is going to be a legal standard. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to start with military, then I'm going to move to law enforcement, then I'm going to move to civilian. Okay. Rules of engagement, military. Okay. So ROEs are different, right? Depending on the circumstances. However, where is it? This is Somalia. JTF for Somalia. This is like 40 years old. I'm looking for like a war on terror ROE because that would be more relevant. Okay, not that one. Sorry. Yeah, if people are going to say wildly stupid shit, then we need to be able to articulate it. That's New Zealand. That's not going to matter. Where's an American rule ROE? I literally had one. This isn't it. Okay. So this is going to have to do, okay? Rules of engagement, ROE, and the law of war. ROE are internally imposed restrictions upon the use of force. Rules of engagement may restrict actions allowable under the law of war. ROEs are general orders providing specific guidance for specific operations. They are not interchangeable. Violations of our ROE are not necessarily violations of the law of war, but are punishable under the UCMJ as violations of a general order. Central, this is the main thing that I was trying to poke at. Central to every ROE, the right to self-defense is never denied. Use the minimum force required to complete your mission. Okay, the right to self-defense. Let's go ahead and pull that up. The right to self-defense is the right for people as individuals to use reasonable or defensive force for the purpose of defending their own life and property, or to defend the lives of others, including in certain circumstances through using deadly force. Let's go to deadly force. Deadly force, also known as lethal force, is the use of force that is likely to cause serious bodily injury or death to another person. In most jurisdictions, the use of deadly force is justified only under conditions of extreme necessity as a last resort, when all lesser means have failed or cannot reasonably be employed. Firearms, bladed weapons, explosives, and vehicles are among those weapons for which it's considered deadly force. The use of non-traditional weapons in an offensive manner, such as a baseball bat, can also be considered deadly force. Okay? Now let's look up law enforcement. When can police use deadly force? I already know this off the top of my head, but I want to make sure that we're backing it up. We'll use AI. Why not? Police can use deadly force when they reasonably believe it's necessary to protect themselves or others from an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. This was bashed into my brain thousands of times while I was in law enforcement. When can a civilian use deadly force? I almost guarantee you it's going to say imminent threat or death of great bodily harm. In Florida, a civilian can use deadly force in self-defense or to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to themselves or others. Boom. Identical. When can you use deadly force, New York? New York law requires that the force used in self-defense be proportional to the threat faced. This means you cannot use deadly force unless you reasonably believe that you are facing imminent death, serious physical injury, kidnapping, rape, or robbery. Boom. So I mean, you're saying depend on the state. No, it doesn't. Not in the United States. Even in New York, if you can articulate a reasonable belief that you are facing imminent death or serious physical injury, then you can go ahead and do it. Okay? So here's the thing. To my beautiful audience, all right? Do you think, I'm actually going to ask this as a question and I want to see a response in chat. If someone walks up to you and says, someone is dying today, I'm ready to go back to prison. I don't care. I'm ready to hurt anybody. I'm ready to go back to Rikers Island. I'm ready to die. I'm ready to go to jail. They take off their jacket and they slam it on the ground and they throw trash at people and then they walk up and they get in somebody's face. Do you think that you are reasonably able to articulate a fear of imminent threat of death or great bodily harm? I'm away for chat. Brain death takes 10 minutes. C-dubs while I'm waiting for chat to respond. And I'm okay. C-dub says yes. Anybody else? Jonah Boy? Yeah. Harmonic Fox? Yeah. Not only do I agree, the state of New York agrees. What is reasonable, Connor? Penny could articulate it, and thankfully he won, but that was a close case. Doesn't matter. For a moral judgment, it doesn't matter. The state of New York could have arrested Jordan Neely for manslaughter, for applying the chokehold. I would have found that unreasonable. I still would have viewed that as a principle being violated. Yes, exactly, Christian Valeris. In Florida or Texas, they wouldn't have even charged him. I agree. I 100% agree. All right, anyways, so we can get back into the content. But the whole reason why I'm bringing up these points, the whole reason why I'm emphasizing it so much is, number one, I need to make content for you beautiful people. But number two is because VAUSH is going to keep insisting that Daniel Penny killed Jordan Neely for no reason. We already have the reason. The reason is that he put him in fear of imminent death or great bodily harm for himself or others. He did so by walking onto the train, taking his sweater off, slamming it onto the ground, and saying that he's ready to die. Someone's going to die today. I don't care if I'm going back to Rikers, and getting in people's faces and throwing trash at them. That is all incredibly reasonable things to articulate, that you are in fear of death or imminent bodily harm to yourself or others. That's already done. Who is it? Daniel Penny could have already gone to deadly force if he wanted to, and instead he restrained him for 5 minutes first. Okay, let's see how VAUSH characterizes this incident.
So I don't think that. I think that it is in fact possible to fight or pin down a person without choking them to death. People were like telling him, "You're gonna kill him now." Like, it's not even.
Okay. Do you know what other people said as well? VAUSH, because we watched it, they said that Jordan Neely said someone's dying today. He was ready to risk it all. I'm ready to hurt somebody. They also said, I don't think he did anything wrong. I'm ready to hurt people. I'm ready to go to Rikers Island. So I would view that as contradictory evidence.
Like a one-on-one, like it wasn't like a pitched battle where Neely had a knife and you like get the knife and as you pin him down, you're like holding him and then you're like freaking out, the adrenaline pumping, and then he like dies in your hands or whatever. That's one thing, right? That's
what a moron. I'm just gonna pull it up again. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. But at the same time, if you were in this situation, if you had a paranoid schizophrenic who was threatening to hurt people or kill people, you don't know if he has a knife in his pocket. You don't know if he has a screwdriver in his pocket. You don't know if he has a box cutter in his pocket. You don't know whether or not he has a gun. Now, he might not, because you would think that he would pull the gun if he was ready, but he could still have a weapon in any of his pockets. And you're holding this guy, and your strength and cardiovascular capacity is the only thing that is keeping this man from getting back up and fighting and potentially injuring or potentially killing people. Do you think your adrenaline's a little bit spiked? Do you think your heart rate is a little bit high? Right here, look at this. Jordan Neely, despite being restrained by two men, is trying to get his hands out of this person, almost succeeds, and then rolls over into a different direction. Do you think that Daniel Penny, while still in a position of control, could be a little bit worried that he's going to break free, get his hands free, and grab a knife from his pocket and start stabbing people? Look at this. This is 5 minutes. We're on fast forward right now. And they've been holding him for 5 minutes. And this isn't an applied chokehold for 5 minutes. It's 50 seconds after which Daniel Penny applies it. And also, give me 1 second. Look at this. Okay, that's his leg. That's Daniel Penny's leg getting out of him. Now here, if he wasn't breathing, if I didn't see his belly moving, this is the one critique that I have of law enforcement and of Daniel Penny, is if you see that after you apply a chokehold, the person is no longer breathing. I know it's kind of crazy to try to resuscitate somebody that you were just fighting a moment ago, but the second that you see him not breathing is the time that you apply CPR. And look at how lackadaisical these cops are. No offense to these cops. I'm sure they're great guys, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, there's a guy on the ground not breathing, and this cop is like, let me just put on my gloves. And the sergeant is just like staring at him. He's just like, I'll call the supervisor. Where's my cell phone? Can I call the supervisor? These are like seconds that are passing where Jordan Neely is probably not breathing. Daniel Penny doesn't know all this stuff. The cops probably know, right? And they're trying to wake him up, right? So he's choked out. I'm looking for stomach movement. I'm not really seeing stomach movement, and I'm not really seeing him being responsive. So at this point, it's time to start doing CPR. If you notice that his stomach isn't rising, if you go for a pulse and you can't find a pulse, it's time to start doing stomach stuff. And we have 6 cops standing around looking at him with their, no offense to anybody, their dicks in their hands. So no, you don't do mouth to mouth. You just do compressions. You don't have to do mouth to mouth. Christian Valeras, they are now teaching law enforcement. This is 2023. This is 2 years ago. Even when I left in 2019, this female cop is ready to go, right? You don't have to do mouth to mouth. You just have to do compressions until EMTs arrive, and they have bag masks. VAUSH thinks self-defense is only valid if you are in Pirate of the Caribbean fight scene. True. Similar to the shooting death of a dude that threatened to kill an older Hispanic bodega owner and was shot by him. Yep. Couldn't he also be struggling to get out so he can breathe? Yeah. I agree with you, Commander Haircut, that he could be fighting, but at the same time, if you go back and we look, we can go ahead and go back and look. These are the cops coming down. Right here. I'm going to go here. This isn't a blood choke. Okay? In order for it to be a blood choke, this bicep would need to be underneath his neck so blood flow could not get in or out of this side. This wrist would need to be bit into the side of his neck. And then this hand right here would need to be grabbing the bicep. That's how this hand would grab the bicep. This wrist would be cutting off blood flow from this side. This bicep would be cutting off blood flow from this side. So yeah, you're saying he could be fighting for a better position to breathe. Okay, he can breathe here. Okay, if he just sat back and relaxed, he would be in police custody. Who is the dude just standing up and watching? Another civilian. Anyways, let's see what else VAUSH has to say.
It's totally different. This is, he wasn't even assaulting anyone except for the trash throwing.
Except for the trash throwing.
You know, a former Marine attacks you and puts you in a chokehold, then keeps holding it as other people are also holding him down.
If he didn't do anything wrong, why are other people holding him down?
And telling you to stop. It's crazy. It's insane. It's murder. Well, it's manslaughter. Or at least it might be. We'll see how the jury...
It's not. So, Biz D, it's homicide. It's not manslaughter. So, Biz D, I don't know if you just came in or whatever. So, in order to use deadly force as a civilian, a law enforcement officer, or a military member, you need to be able to articulate imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to yourself or others. So if I walk into your house right now, I'm 6'4", I'm 250 pounds. If I take off my jacket, I slam it on the ground and I say, somebody's dying today. I don't care if I go back to jail. I don't care if I go to Rikers Island. And then I pick up trash and I throw it at you. And then I get up in your face. Do you think you would be able to articulate reasonable fear of imminent threat of death or great bodily harm? Yeah. I mean, I would love an answer, Biz D. It's up to you. Commander Haircut says, aren't there points where you can't see the chokehold, though? Do we know that a non-blood choke was maintained the entire 6 minutes? Commander Haircut, no. So for 5 minutes, it's basically articulated that it's a non-blood choke. And then for about 45 to 50 seconds, there is a blood choke. And that's towards the end of the interaction. So there is a blood choke. But you can also articulate imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. Doesn't that mean that the threat had to be directed at Penny? No. It could be directed at other people. Or at least someone specific? Nope. Imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to yourself or others. It can be a general threat of death or great bodily harm. Why would you wait? Right? This is my question to you, Biz D, for a question. So you have a car of New Yorkers. You got 20 people inside a car, and somebody walks in and he says, I'm gonna kill all y'all. Do you think the law should be rewritten because he threatened 20 people that you can't intervene? In my opinion, that would be a very dumb law. You can tell me in chat.
Decides. Anyway, all conservatives support Daniel Penny because they want to be able to kill black men at random. That is literally what is happening, by the way. Like, you go literally go to literally any conservative social media, YouTube, whatever. They will talk about, like, they will overstate the harm. They will say Jordan Neely was attacking people. They'll say, you know, all that, and they'll say that, like, Daniel Penny was just a hero protecting people on the subway. You know exactly what narrative they're going to give you. Yeah, it's
the problem with VAUSH's statements right here. So he's saying that conservatives are looking for a pretext to kill Black Americans at random. The problem is you have a Black female and a Black male on the day of, basically exactly articulating why there would be reasonable fear of death or great bodily harm. You also have two different witnesses saying, I don't think he did anything wrong. You also had two other people help Daniel Penny with the restriction. Commander Haircut says, I think the only person who was in danger was Penny. Thing is silly, but it also isn't unreasonable to say that killing him is okay after he is restrained. We would have to get into that, right? So let's say that I'm choking you out and I don't know, like, I'm holding you and you're fighting to break free, and I don't know whether or not you have a knife in your pocket, and you've already said all the crazy shit that you said, right? So at that point, my question is, unreasonable to say that killing, if you are like, I surrender, I'm not going to fight you anymore. My apologies, sir. I will sit back here. I will put my hands where you can see them, and I am going to wait for law enforcement. If you then choke that person to death, I would agree with you that that would be murder. However, if I'm still fighting you in order to break free, and you don't know what I'm going to do when I get back up, and you don't know what's in my pockets, I 100% think that's something completely different. C-Dub says, VAUSH is trying to sell the Conservative Party more than the Conservatives could. Nice. Please explain how anyone can listen to this and think he's a real person. Well, we'll wrap it up in a few minutes because I think the point's already been made and I'm just beating a dead horse. VAUSH would like that. I don't know. Seems gray to me. If he got in someone's face, I'd be less conflicted, but I don't know if he did. He did. Biz D, I think you're coming in halfway. Literally in the story, not Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely walked into the subway car, took his sweater off, threw it down on the ground, picked up trash, threw it at other people, and then said, I'm ready to die today. I don't care if I go back to Rikers. Someone's dying today. You know, fuck all of y'all, right? So at that point, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't that be sufficient? My understanding is Neely was approaching Penny or other passengers, but I could be wrong. Your understanding is that he did do that. Devil's advocate, 18-year-old girl on a train tripping or angel dust threatens to kill people. Context dependent, obviously, but does the law protect the same person that chokes out that girl? 100%. Why wouldn't you? If that person's getting all schizo and in your face, a gun shot from a girl can be as dangerous as a gun shot from a man. A knife stabbed from a girl can be as dangerous as a knife stabbed from a man. Why not? Like, I get it. Like, genders, their size differences, all that kind of stuff. Now, whether or not you should choke them out, I don't know. You might not be able to articulate that, but yeah. Especially if you think they're going for a knife, especially if you think they're going for a gun. BizD says, also, I think if you're going to take it upon yourself to employ violence preemptively, you had better be competent enough to not get yourself killed or not kill someone you aren't intending to. Well, what I'm saying to you, BizD, I understand, like, you're playing a little bit of devil's advocate, so I'm getting a little one guide. But what I'm saying is, he already met the threshold for deadly force. So, anyways, let's give VAUSH 2 more minutes to be stupid, and then we'll move into our last segment.
It's unambiguous. They're racist and evil. Yeah, there is absolutely no. If you believed that this is morally justifiable, like, society would break down instantly if you applied it consistently.
No, it wouldn't. If schizophrenics consistently got onto public transportation and threatened everybody with death, and they were pinned to the ground by members of the public, and then they were either arrested or they accidentally died, society wouldn't fall apart. If anything, society would continue to function with less homeless people threatening to kill people on public transport.
Can you imagine? So anytime a person, like, freaks out in public and gets in your face, you can chokehold them till they die? That's, like, now a defensible standard? Okay.
Except for he's making up a standard that didn't occur. That's the thing, is he reads contradictory evidence, then he makes up a position, and then he fights the position.
Okay. I'm going to go to any MAGA rally, and say that I'm pro-choice. And then when someone gets in my face and yells at me, I will then do that. I'm sorry. Are things different now? I thought getting in a person's face and being threatening. What exactly is the threshold?
See, he's asking a question as if this is like totally indiscernible. It's undecipherable. We don't know. And by the way, under the laws as written, he can 100% go to a MAGA rally and say, I am pro-choice. And if a MAGA Republican gets in his face and says, somebody's going to die today, I don't care if I go back to jail, VAUSH could 100% choke him out and be in the legal right. So the fact that he's acting like, oh, this is impossible to understand, it's like, no, it's perfectly articulable. Commander Haircut says, shouldn't the question then be, is the justification for deadly force too lenient? But I guess that'd be outside the barriers of the case itself. I mean, you can ask that question. I'm not going to. I think that is exactly where it needs to be. Seraph702 says, lol, Rome was famous for having a law where if you looked at or said rude things to people, they could beat you to death in the street. It made for more polite people. Maybe we don't want to go that far, but VAUSH 100% in his own example could do that conduct. That's not a problem. That's defensible under the existing laws.
Is throwing trash at a person?
Yeah, that's battery.
The standard, if a person throws trash at you, is that the point where you can like murder them?
No, it's after you say, I don't care, somebody's going to die today. I don't care if I die today. I'm ready to go back to Rikers. And then you throw trash at somebody and then you get in their face.
It's completely insane.
No, it's not. It's very sane. It's very cogent. It's in line with the law. You're just making up a straw man, and then you're fighting against it despite having read contradictory evidence.
The crazy thing is, too, like, conservatives often complain about us we no longer live in a high trust society. How can you ever live in a high trust society when this is like part of living in a high trust society is the belief that socially, not just like awkward or difficult, but socially dangerous or like socially like situations where there's like ambiguous potential harm here, like this, like with Neely kind of freaking out throwing trash. You have to believe stuff like this can be resolved with a moderate hand and even temper, because if you don't believe that, everyone's always primed to kill or be killed, and you have a very untrusting society.
So I think this was literally the reason why I picked this video. So what VAUSH wants, based off of his own perspective, is he wants you, not him, because he doesn't leave his house. He wants you to get onto public transport and have homeless schizophrenics who have already been arrested 42 times to take off their jackets, slam it on the ground, say, I'm ready to die today, throw trash, and then get in your face. And he wants you to be like, well, he's probably not going to do it. And then he wants you to sit there with your hands folded in your lap and just kind of wait for the situation to blow over. That's what he wants. And if 9 times out of 10, the paranoid schizophrenic doesn't hurt or kill anyone, then that's just the price you pay for living in a high trust society. That's what he wants. Okay, that's what he's saying he wants. I'm just going to say it because there are members of chat who are more liberal or progressive minded. So my apologies for taking an aggressive, more social conservative stance. My apologies. However, this is not going to fly with any moderate or any conservative. So if you're a liberal or if you're a progressive and you just watch the facts of the case and you still disagree with me, I'm just telling you that you're within like a 30 to 40% of the population bubble, and 60 to 70% of the population disagrees with you. If you think that temperamentally it is acceptable to get onto public transport and then just to have to accept homeless people threatening you, you are not living in the same reality as probably 60% of the population easily. And when you double or triple down and say, yeah, if a homeless person gets onto public transport, says that they're ready to die, throws down their stuff, throws trash, and then gets in people's faces, it's my moral duty to sit there with my hands folded between my hands folded together, sitting in my lap, and wait to see whether or not he stabs or shoots someone. If you think that's the morally justifiable thing to do, you are going to continue to lose elections. I know I might be going a little wide with it, but when I hear that, I don't want you to be in power because I don't think that you have like a realistic, sober take on society, interpersonal violence, mental illness, policy, the purpose of law enforcement, self-defense, or anything like that. So, sorry. I'm sorry if I turned off a dozen of you when you don't like this segment, but that's how I feel. Christian Blair says, Vaush is like your typical Hollywood barn progressive. Is that born progressive? Excuse me. Is not going to see the problems given that he's in a gated community. Yeah. Also, the cities in which you live are going to S with psychotic, drug addicted, homeless folks. Yeah. And some people are like, yeah, this is great. I love it. I don't think that, though. I have no problem with him being restrained. Lol. Okay, good. Commander Haircut, you're one of the good ones. All right. I love you. I parasocially love you through the internet. Okay. You're one of the good liberals. You're one of the good progressives. I'm giving you a digital hug through the screen. Jonah Boy says, I'm ever so slightly more left-leaning, but this mentality the left has towards the self-defense and being soft, harmless rabbits drives me crazy. Good. Biz D says, you're being a bit silly. The only problem I have with what Penny did was the chokehold. Okay. It's enough for us to break bread on. It's enough for us to be okay. Do you want to gamble with your life like that? I have gambled with my life like that repeatedly. I was in the Marine Corps. I was in law enforcement. I have intervened in violent situations before, both as a civilian and as a law enforcement officer and as a Marine. I've gambled my life dozens of times like that. Yeah, Christian Blair, San Francisco police response time is 20 to 30 minutes. All right, I'm going to say one more thing. I've been beating a dead horse, and I understand that there's liberals and progressives in my chat who are not fans of what I'm saying. All right? When danger is unfolding in seconds, the cops are still minutes away. I say that as a former cop. Do you want to take a chance with the 1 out of 10 chance that someone will die? Yep. 100%. Every single time. Done it plenty of times. I've confronted people who were high out of their minds on drugs. I fought them with my hands. I've dealt with people who were on the verge of, what do you call that? They were paranoid schizophrenics, but they were excited delirium. They were in a state of excited delirium. I fought people who were having diabetic, hypo, and hyperglycemia. I think hypoglycemia would be the one that would actually cause like a psychotic break. I think hyperglycemia is just somebody who has like way too high a blood sugar. But yeah, I fought diabetics and I restrained them and I was able to get them safely to the hospital. I've fought paranoid schizophrenics who were high on drugs. I got them to the hospital. I restrained them and I was able to take them down without killing them. Thank God. And I've also confronted people who had knives and guns, who were former or current gang associates, murderers, and homeless people. So yeah, it's hard to judge a chokehold. There's no perfect response. All right. Anyways, listen, I saw that when I was at the peak of my self-defense rage that we lost like 5 people. And I'm assuming it's because, one, it's a hard topic matter. Not everybody wants to talk about people getting choked to death. I understand that. And then I also see some resistance in my chat to my perspective. And I've been kind of hammering on about it for 10 minutes. So I don't want to bore you to death with like litigating it over and over again. I shared my perspective with you. You've shared your perspective with me. We can probably find a compromise somewhere. And I don't want to bore you guys to death just by moral frogging over it. The point is that I think that VAUSH doesn't read, doesn't pay attention, reads things that are contradictory to his position, but then repeats his position anyways in a hyperbolic manner. That's the main thing that I wanted you to get from the segment, and that's all I got for now.